Hello and a very warm welcome to this special telecast on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Frank Razan Pereira. The Committee for Draft National Education Policy, chaired by K. Kasturi Rangan, submitted its report on May 31, 2019. The committee was constituted by the Ministry of Human Resource Development in June 2017. The report proposes an education policy which seeks to address the challenges of access, equity, quality, affordability and accountability faced by the current education system. The draft policy provides for reforms at all levels of education from school to higher education. It seeks to increase the focus on early childhood care, reform the current exam system, strengthen teacher training and restructure the education regulatory framework. It also seeks to set up a National Education Commission, increase public investment in education, strengthen the use of technology and increase focus on vocational and adult education, among others. In this special discussion, we will take a closer look at the education system as it stands in the country today. What are the challenges and what is the best way forward? Joining me on the program today are Gurcharan Das, author and public intellectual. Also with me on the program today, C.B. Sharma, Chairman, National Institute of Open Schooling and Educationist. Anurag Tripathi, Secretary, CBSE, is also with us on the program today. And finally, Geeta Gandhi Kingdon, Professor, Education and International Development, University College, London. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this special discussion here on Rajya Sabha Television. We also have with us some students in the audience who will ask these panelists here, pick their brains with some tough questions, I hope, on the best way forward, really, as far as education in our country is concerned. Let me not waste any more time. Without further ado, let me go across straight to Gurcharan Das. What is the status of education in our country as it stands today?
Well, the education in our country is in a crisis. And unfortunately, the latest education policy does not address that. It has some very good features. It has, for example, it separates the regulators from those who run schools. Earlier, there was this conflict of interest. It provides significant autonomy to the university system. But I think the real crisis is that 1 out of 4 teachers doesn't show up in a primary school, government school. And 1 out of 2 that shows up is not teaching. And the one who's teaching is teaching like a parrot and not teaching with empathy or with inspiration. So hence, our system is unable to produce a literate, employable person. And that is a very, very serious crisis for the country. And therefore, what do parents do in such a situation? Fortunately, Indian parents are filled with initiative. They just don't sit around and see the failure of our government schools. They pull their children out of government schools, put them in private schools. Now, these are not great private schools, but at least the teacher shows up in these schools and makes an effort of some kind. This policy does not address this problem about why is it that the parents are pulling children out of government schools. A lot of the regulators say, oh, but frankly, the parents don't understand. Parents are not stupid. You know, somebody goes, buys a very technical thing like a cell phone. That's a parent. Doesn't know how it works, but knows what he or she wants. So what I'm trying to say is that don't treat people as though they are stupid. So when you go, so what the crisis is that 1 out of 3 children in rural areas are in private school, and 1 out of 2 children in urban areas are in private schools. So when this report clamors for, and not only the report, a lot of people clamor for this magic figure of 6% of GDP. As long as we should spend more, we would everything would be sorted out. The reality is today we are spending 4% of GDP on government public education, but we are not counting the fact that we are spending a lot on privately education, which is far, so India actually is spending far more than 6%
Right.
of GDP, putting it at the top. And asking for more government spending is like throwing good, hard-earned money of the taxpayer into a kind of black hole.
Okay.
And that's the sad thing. So once they arrive in government schools, you have to understand the situation of people who run private schools.
Okay.
They are suffering from a huge license raj, and the policy does not address the license raj. You know, the life of a person who runs a private school in India, I mean, they're demonized every day. Oh, they're money makers, they're all these things. But the reality is, they require 70 signatures to get started.
Sure.
And with every signature, there's a call for a bribe. And it's a system riddled with bribery and corruption. We got rid of license raj in industry, but we never got rid of license raj in education.
Okay.
And so
let me take the points that you're making to the other panelists as well. And Geeta Kingdon, I'd like to bring you into the picture now. You know, we heard Gurcharan Das speak about how there is a crisis really as far as the education system in the country is concerned. How would you compare it with the education system, say, abroad? I mean, is there a stark difference? Is there something that we can, incorporate here in our country? What is it really?
So first of all, I would say that I agree very much with the analysis of Gurcharan Das regarding what plagues the system currently. Regarding comparison with other countries, let me take the example of the United Kingdom, which is the country that I'm most familiar with, having lived there for 31 years. What they have done is to recognize that one major problem because of which outcomes for students are not as good as they might be is the lack of school and teacher effort and accountability. So what they have done is to give more autonomy to schools. Schools are in the UK sort of run by local government. It's called municipality or local authority. And they get the per pupil funding that the government gives to them. But those schools that are under local authority are very much, they are very rule bound and hide bound by the rules that are set by the local authority. What they have done, the central government, the UK government have done, is to free up those schools from the shackles of being under the control of the local government by offering them that through parental vote, the parents can choose to take their school out and put it in a very much more autonomous condition whereby the school board, the governing board of the school, has the autonomy to decide to spend exactly how they want the money that they still get from the government. The per student grant is the same, whether you become an academy, convert to an academy, or whether you remain. So they have chosen the route of increasing autonomy tremendously. They have a huge deal of discretion, the governing board of these academies, as to how they use. So their approach has been that education is government funded, but it is now much more autonomously produced as a matter of choice of the parents. So the government is not having to take the flak. It's not, previously it was facing accusations, you're privatizing education, you are, a lot of ideology-driven criticism. And the government said, well, we don't want to make the decision, let the parents decide. If the majority of the parents want it, we'll shift it like that.
Okay, all right. So let me come to you, Anurag Tripathi. As far as budgets are concerned, as far as spending more, do you believe that spending more is really the answer, or do we need to strengthen our government schools, strengthen our public sector schools as a whole to ensure that the education system itself is improved?
Good. Basically, किसी भी गवर्नमेंट की प्रायोरिटी एजुकेशन एंड हेल्थ होनी चाहिए. नो डाउट मैक्सिमम जितना मनी हम इन्वेस्ट करेंगे एजुकेशन एंड हेल्थ उतनी ही ज़्यादा हमारी इम्प्रूव करेगा. कारण गवर्नमेंट का मेजर रोल होता है एजुकेशन एंड हेल्थ में. बट सिर्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट से ही इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं होने वाला है। हमारा जो भी फंड हम इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं
जी,
उसकी प्रॉपर मॉनिटरिंग, उसका प्रॉपर यूटिलाइजेशन, वापस ये चेक करना है कि उसका यूटिलाइजेशन कितना हुआ, ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है।
अब क्या होता है सिस्टम में?
जस्ट फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं अगर बोलना चाहूँ कि देश में स्कूल्स की कमी नहीं है। देयर आर मोर देन 30 करोड़ स्टूडेंट्स, मोर देन 2 करोड़ टीचर्स। तो इस कंट्री में टीचर्स, स्कूल्स, स्टूडेंट्स की कोई कमी नहीं है। बट स्कूल्स का जो रोल है, जो बच्चों की लर्निंग, स्किलिंग, वैल्यू बेस्ड एजुकेशन, वो कितना बॉटम लेवल पे इम्प्लीमेंट हो पा रही है, ये मशीनरी को टाइटन करने की ज़रूरत है। हमें एक बैलेंस वे में स्कूल्स को ऑटोनॉमी भी देनी है, टीचर्स को ऑटोनॉमी भी देनी है, बट इसके साथ साथ हमें ये मॉनिटरिंग टूल भी अपने पास रखना है कि वो चीज़ें इम्प्लीमेंट हो पा रही हैं कि नहीं। बेसिकली गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स में टीचर्स जब सेलेक्ट होते हैं, दे आर वन ऑफ द बेस्ट टीचर्स। रिक्रूटमेंट होता है, फ्रेश रिक्रूटमेंट, एंड एट प्रेजेंट प्राइवेट स्कूल से ज़्यादा सैलरी गवर्नमेंट टीचर्स को मिलती है। देयर आर मेनी गवर्नमेंट टीचर्स जो आउटस्टैंडिंग परफॉर्मेंस दे रहे हैं, बट उनकी मिड टर्म ट्रेनिंग, उनका अपग्रेडेशन, उनका प्रमोशन, उनकी मॉनिटरिंग, उनका रिजल्ट बेस्ड असेसमेंट, इवन आउटकम बेस्ड असेसमेंट, ये मेरे हिसाब से इसको कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा ध्यान देने की ज़रूरत है। और ऑलमोस्ट ये प्रॉब्लम्स प्राइवेट स्कूल्स में नहीं है। प्राइवेट स्कूल के पास अ गुड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वन ऑफ द बेस्ट टीचर्स, एंड उनके पास ऑल फैसिलिटीज़ अवेलेबल हैं। वहाँ चैलेंज दूसरा है। वहाँ चैलेंज है कि हम रोट लर्निंग और नॉलेज से अपनी एजुकेशन को स्किलिंग और लर्निंग पर शिफ्ट कैसे करें, जिसमें सीबीएसई इस समय अपना पूरा प्रयास कर रहा है कि हमारे जो 22,000 स्कूल्स हैं उनकी लर्निंग किस तरीके से हम आउटकम बेस्ड लेके चलें, एंड रोट लर्निंग को कैसे हम स्किलिंग पर शिफ्ट करें, और हम इसमें आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में चैलेंजेस कई लेयर पे हैं। ऐसे बच्चे जो स्कूल नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं उनको खींच के स्कूल तक लाना, फिर ऐसे बच्चे जिनके पास बेसिक, जिनको न्यूट्रिशन नहीं मिल पा रहा है, उनको इस चीज़ को प्रोवाइड कर पाना, फिर उन बच्चों को उस एजुकेशन सेटअप में रोक पाना, स्कूल से जोड़ना एक चैलेंज है, कंटिन्यू करना दूसरा चैलेंज है, एंड कंटिन्यू करने के बाद उनकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी लेवल तक उनको लिंक कर पाना, ये एक बिग चैलेंज है। तो जो न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है, आई एम सेइंग कि इसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ों को टच करने का प्रयास किया गया है
जी।
चैलेंज होगा वो बॉटम लेवल तक कितना इम्प्लीमेंट हो पाएगा, दैट विल बी इम्पोर्टेंट।
That's true. All right. So, CP Sharma, thank you for listening in to all the other panelists very patiently. It gives you a chance to respond to what many of them have said as well. But, if you look at several statistics, one that, caught my eye was that India produces the highest number of unemployable graduates anywhere in the world. Of course, our population also is to blame somewhere. But the bottom line being, are we teaching our students what they really need to learn today?
See, I'll start by responding that India has not done well in education. I don't agree. From 7% participation in education to 94% participation in the school education is a tremendous achievement for a nation like India, which was, robbed of all its resources in 1947 and we started. So we have done very well, especially since the district primary education program, the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, and now Samagra Shiksha. We have been able to bring in all the children to school is a great achievement. Now, two things which this nation loves. One is to do a teacher bashing. Teachers are not doing anything. They don't teach. They don't know. We have the best graduates. We don't have any institution in first 100, but our IIT graduates are the best of the world. How is it so? So don't forget that. One. Two. Right since East India Company, the private schools have survived. And the focus was on private schools. Your government schools came much later, but they have done very well. How is it that everybody wants his or her child to be in a central school or a Kendriya Vidyalaya or a Navodaya Vidyalaya if our government schools are not good? We have gone to PISA and we have put our Kendriya Vidyalaya, the Navodaya Vidyalaya and the Chandigarh administration schools for the PISA. Our government schools are doing...
The financial aspect could have a major role to play as far as this is concerned.
Again, look, let's not be running on the Western definition of funding. No parent funds children after 18 in the Western countries. Our parents put in their money right up to PhD level for children. Parents pay for the PhD. So just saying India doesn't spend 6% of its GDP on education is not really very correct. Combine the government budget to the parents expending on children, their own endeavors, their own expenditure, it will come to much more than any country spends on education. Our children, look at the number of children in MIT, the Oxford, Cambridge, the Indian children, who funds them? Not the government. Parents spend on their children's education and they are charged 3 times the local student. Who pays? India pays. It's not, even if the government is not paying, the nation is paying. So what I would believe is, and I would like to mention is, we have done quite good in education, although any point of time, look at the system in US or UK. Parents would still say, children would still say, the nation would still say, we are not doing so well, we need to do better. So there is always a craving for better education and that would always remain. So people would be demanding better education, more spending all the time. But I would believe, given the circumstances in 1947, we have done very well. Where did we go wrong? And as we are expecting a policy, and you said that we are going to get a National Education Commission, I would expect a National School Education Commission parallel to the University Grants Commission. Who decides on education of school children? One person, the Secretary of School Education in the states and the Secretary of School Education at the center decides on the policies of school education for the nation or the states. That must change. And that is the region that the government, the MHRD or the school education departments only look at a small sector. Some states have done very well. Look at Rajasthan. Parents have started bringing back children from private school to government schools. Although Geeta's studies say large number of students from government schools are migrating to private, but in some states where they have done good work, children have gone back to government school. Why? Because they are poor. They are first generation learners. See, what Geeta said was that parents should decide. Most of our learners are first generation learners. Parents are not able to decide. Their choice is between some earning by the child or putting them to school. If they don't find them earning for a couple of years, they bring them back to home for learning. So don't be in a rush. We'll take time. We'll take time, but we have done well. The only thing is, we have not done enough planning for school education. All our focus since 47 was on higher education, creating more IITs, creating more universities. We did not focus on school education. And again, the problem in India is, every time we talk of school education, we start doing private education bashing. Private education has done very good work. Private schools have done very good job for the nation. So many good children have come out of the private schools and they could afford it. We need to put the government and the private schools in competition. They must be there to compete against each other so that we do better job.
Yeah, please.
I wanted to comment on this idea that more resources are needed for education. I think, but this is one of the prescriptions of the new education policy. It suggests that, in fact, it asks that public expenditure on education be doubled. The government budget on education, which is about 10.5% at the moment, be increased to 20% on education. Now, I would suggest that that would be a very reckless and wrong-headed thing to do in current circumstances of extreme wastage of existing government resources. It's not that more resources cannot be productively used, they can be, but unless we improve the mechanisms through which the current allocation is, given to and which heads it goes to and where the expenditure increases go to, then there's no point.
So let's work on plugging the loopholes first and then we can take it forward is what you're suggesting.
I want to just briefly illustrate the point. See, at the moment, if you look at the government's own statistics, the District Information System on Education, DICE data, 70%, very nearly 70% of all government schools, there are 10,35,000 government schools in India, government elementary schools in India. Out of those, just over 7 lakh schools, which is about 70%, have an average enrollment in the school as a whole of 45 children. 45 children on an average in every single government school for 70% of all government schools. So that is a catastrophic situation. It is too small a size. 45 children per government school is too small a size for it to be pedagogically viable or even economically viable. The per pupil salary expenditure is really high. Now, when the outputs are so low, the outcomes are so low, learning achievement levels, all of us know, it's not, it's public knowledge that learning achievement levels are they're pitiably low. Then at that point, you are, if you look at salary expenditure, all the capacity of the state to increase public expenditure on education has been tapped for salaries alone. So, if you look at salary escalation, it's of the order of, 15.9% in a state like Uttar Pradesh. Every year, from the last year of the 5th Pay Commission to the first year of the 7th Pay Commission,
Right.
every year, annual increase in salary is 15.9%. So that is a furious rate of growth when inflation is growing at 3 or 3.5%. So in those circumstances of a lot of wastage of current education expenditure, I think that it's not a sensible policy prescription.
Okay.
So I feel that the efficiency with which public expenditure is made needs to improve a lot.
Okay, right. Yes, question on
So I'd like to make a couple of points. I think you made a very good point here that we have come a long way from 1947. We have come a long way in terms of quantity. I agree with you that now almost all children are in school, and we should be proud of that achievement. However, the problem is the quality. The quality is really poor. And you talked about the PISA exam. India's last time we did the PISA. PISA is a test that is administered around the world. So you can measure yourself against other countries. And something like 80 countries take that test. And we were second last, just above Kazakhstan in that. Now a new PISA is coming, and let's hope we'll do a little better.
Yeah.
But my point is that this is, this is not a matter of pride. We should be ashamed that we scored so very low. Now, I just want to make a few other observations. That one of the things in this policy, you made a very good point that private schools have played a part. Unfortunately, the private schools are under a siege. They are really, on one side, there's a fee control. On the other side, 25% of the seats have to be given away to the poor. All these are good things, but the private schools, and with the license Raj and the number of pieces of paper that you have to produce, and the corruption in the system is something really, really very sad.
Sure.
And I think at the root of the problem is the idea that somehow making a profit from education is bad. We don't mind people making a profit from anything else. Here, what I'm saying is that our goal is good education. You said, let there be competition.
Let there be competition.
And our goal is good education. If somebody makes a profit out of it, if people are willing to pay fees,
so be it
for
as
that,
long as the education system improves.
as
is what you're
long as
suggesting.
the education
Okay.
system
Why did it not
improves.
improve?
Okay. I'm coming to you one at a time. Please, yes, Anurag Tripathi, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, basically we have to see again कि what are the loopholes and हमें उससे बाहर कैसे निकलना है. किसी भी एजुकेशन सेटअप में 3 मेन स्टेक होल्डर्स होते हैं: पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स एंड स्टूडेंट्स. नो डाउट स्टूडेंट या चाइल्ड सेंट्रिक एजुकेशन होनी चाहिए. पेरेंट्स का रोल अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, एंड रिसर्च कहती हैं कि बच्चों का मैक्सिमम डेवलपमेंट उनकी हैबिट्स 3 to 8 ईयर के बीच होती है. 3 साल से 8 साल तक का बच्चा ऑल हैबिट्स अच्छी या बुरी सीख जाता है और वही टिल द एंड वो कैरी करता है. इस न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में उस अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर की बहुत डिमांड भी है और बहुत एम्फेसिस भी दिया गया है. पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स और स्टूडेंट्स तीनों जब तक जेल नहीं करेंगे और तीनों का रोल जब तक कोलैबोरेट नहीं होगा, एजुकेशन पॉलिसी को अपने एम तक पहुंचना बहुत मुश्किल होगा. पेरेंट्स का रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है बच्चों की हैबिट्स को लेकर के, बच्चों के एटीट्यूड और बिहेवियर को लेकर के, बच्चों में वैल्यू एजुकेशन को लेकर के. सिमिलरली टीचर्स का रोल है कि बच्चों को कैसे इनोवेटिव बनाएं, कैसे क्रिएटिव बनाएं, कैसे बच्चों के भीतर डिफरेंट चीज़ों को इनकलकेट करें. टीचर्स का रोल है कि बच्चों को किस तरह से एक्सप्लोर करने के लिए तैयार करें. जो 3 सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सजेशंस मेरे हैं, 1 फॉर पेरेंट्स, कि पेरेंट्स को इस चीज़ के लिए अब तैयार होना चाहिए कि वो ज़माना अब नहीं रहा जब हम बच्चों को डांट करके, पिटाई करके या किसी गलत तरीके से उनको हम तैयार करते थे कि 100 में 100 लेना है और एक जॉब आपको मिल जाने हैं एंड दैट द एंड, और सेटिस्फाइड कि मेरा बच्चा इंजीनियर और डॉक्टर बन गया। नो, रोल तो यहाँ से स्टार्ट होता है कि जब बच्चा डॉक्टर और इंजीनियर बनता है, यहाँ से उसका रियल रोल स्टार्ट होता है सोसाइटी के लिए, कंट्री के लिए, ह्यूमैनिटी के लिए। ये पेरेंट्स को इसको ध्यान देना है कि किस तरीके से वो लेकर के आए। सेकंड, टीचर्स हमारे पास सफिशियंट हैं, बट टीचर्स की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग पर शायद ही ज़्यादातर बोर्ड्स ध्यान देते हो। कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग, टीचर्स की टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस किस तरह की है, उनका ट्रांजैक्शन मोड क्या है। बच्चों को 40 स्टूडेंट्स क्लासरूम में हैं तो 40 तरीके उनको डेवलप करने पड़ सकते हैं उनकी लर्निंग को लेकर के, उनकी चीज़। तो टीचर्स की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। एंड इन माय व्यू, जब तक हम टीचर्स की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग पे, टीचर्स पे डिवोट नहीं करेंगे, ट्रेंड नहीं करेंगे, कैपेबल टीचर को सेलेक्ट नहीं करेंगे, जो कैपेबल हैं उनको हम कंटिन्यू नहीं करेंगे और मिड टर्म ट्रेनिंग के थ्रू उनको अपग्रेड नहीं करेंगे, तब तक अगेन आपको एजुकेशन लेवल तक जाना मुश्किल है। लास्ट, स्टूडेंट्स जिनका असेसमेंट सारे बोर्ड्स करते हैं, हम 10th एंड 12th एक एग्जामिनेशन बोर्ड है एंड 3 आवर के एक एग्जामिनेशन लेकर के हम बच्चों को सर्टिफाई करते हैं कि आप इस लेवल पे हैं। बट आप अगर देखें तो क्लास 1 to 12 तक इंटरनल असेसमेंट मैक्सिमम होता है बच्चों का। बच्चों के देर इंटरनल असेसमेंट बहुत डिफरेंट लेयर पे यहाँ प्रिंसिपल्स, टीचर्स को इस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है कि बच्चों का बोर्ड एग्जाम के पहले 11 मंथ, 10 मंथ, 9 मंथ जो उनके पास बच्चे हैं, एवरी मंथ, एवरी 6 मंथ पे जो इंटरनल असेसमेंट कर रहे हैं, जो प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड हो, जो एक्टिविटी बेस्ड हो, जो लर्निंग आउटकम बेस्ड हो, जो जॉयफुल हो, जो बच्चों के फेस से स्माइल लेकर के आए, और जब बोर्ड एग्जाम के लिए बच्चे पहुंचे तो स्ट्रेस में ना हो बच्चे, और वो उसको और बेटर वे में उसको निकाल सकते। ये 3 इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स हैं जिसकी ज़रूरत है, एंड एजुकेशन पॉलिसी इसको टच कर रही। बट अगेन मैं यही कहूँगा कि उसको बॉटम लेवल तक इम्प्लीमेंट करने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी, और एक इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्टर होगा।
Okay, all right. CV Sharma, quick reaction from you, and then I take questions from the.
See, one thing I'll say that
guests here.
till 1990, we did not think about the school education. We had our focus only on higher education. So, 1990 onwards, when we started an universalization of elementary education, we have put our emphasis and shifted from higher education. And you look at the development of higher education since 1990, you will find there is a retardation. So, unfortunately, in our policies, we put emphasis on one side and then withdraw it from another, which is wrong. But then, 1990, we have been able to bring all children to school. Now is the time to think of quality. And if you look at all the policies, you will find that there is overemphasis on quality, and we are working on it. What Anurag ji said, there are 3 stakeholders. I would say the most important is the first, and that is the policy making. Policy making in education has been very poor. I don't think people who are at the helm of affairs making policies for school education do really understand school education. I don't expect much from the policy that is coming. We need to have a regulator or an independent body for school education like the University Grants Commission, which doesn't exist, and that must be there, so that we see a flip-flop in the school education policy every 1 year to 18 months. That should not happen. Policy is important. And we don't expect much from the policy. There is no reference of a National School Education Commission, which
Right.
should be a body of professionals like the University Grants Commission, which has been working for higher education, to look at that. Third, we need to have a curriculum framework every 10 years. We have not done things till 2015. We had to bring a new national education policy, national curriculum framework in 2015. The world changes. Nation changes in 10 years. We need to give new content to our children. We have not done that. NCERT has not revised its textbook, which it must do. So we need to have a new policy which should have focus on that. I don't know. We are saying that we'll bring in children 3 years onwards to the school. How good that policy would be, Professor Gandhi would be able to say. Do we need to bring 3-year child to a school, or let the play group be enriched? Anganwadis have, if they have not worked, they have not succeeded, we
Right.
need to enrich them, we need to work on them, and not to bring this 3-year-old child to a school. I don't know how good that policy would be,
Sure.
because we are saying we are going to make 5 years, this 3 years to 8 years, a separate section. We need to work on that. The most important thing, to my mind, would be a robust policy for a school education, which we have lacked because our emphasis was not on school education. And there, we should not treat either public school or private school as a stepchildren. We should look at them as peer and brothers and sisters, and they should work together to bring or to provide good school education.
Okay, all right.
Could I just add
Age
one
and
thing?
I'll come back to you. We'll get a few questions in first, and then I'll come back to you. Age and exams, we'll talk about that going forward. What should be the age of children getting to school, and also do we need exams to evaluate how good or how well they are performing? First question from the audience. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. My name is Rahul Datta, and I'm a student of IIMC. So my question is to almost all the panelists that why do we confine these education policy debates in just about books and colleges infrastructure? I mean, when you look at it, like a student might be very good at academics, but when it comes to speaking, they are very good at they are very bad at communication. I mean, they lack confidence, and even after being a very good student, they are not able to put their points across everyone. So what exactly is lacking? I mean, the entire fabric of our education system gets under scrutiny when educated person or well-educated man doesn't able to communicate his word
Sure.
to the
Points taken.
people.
Points taken.
So well.
One at a time. One
You
at a time.
speak
Play.
so well, and I think I should be proud of our schooling system that we have produced a child or a speaker like Rahul.
Well, I think the answer to your question really is that there is no contradiction between going to school and learning the skills you're talking about. The fact is, good education is about learning to communicate, in learning to communicate both by speaking and by writing. And that is the goal right from primary school all the way to the university throughout. So it's a lot of that, a lot of what you're talking about is precisely the failure of our system, which is based on rote memorization and does not give a chance to the person to be able to communicate clearly.
Geeta, I'd like to bring you in here. I mean, is the focus on our education here in India too much on books and bookish knowledge and just mugging up and and going back there and just putting it out on an exam sheet or an exam paper? Is that what our focus is on at the moment?
Yes, unfortunately, that is true. And that's really badly letting down our children, because in the world of work, they need these skills: communication, interpersonal skills, teamwork, being able to do problem solving. If you look at the school curriculum, the way it's transacted, and if you look at the assessment system, because assessments are the things that drive how teachers teach and what they teach. Assessments require that, our exam system requires knowledge, and it is rote learned knowledge that it requires. There are specific marks for specific keywords. So as long as you have learned those keywords, you will be rewarded in the exam for knowing those keywords. Whereas the kind of assessment system that is needed is one which tests the kinds of skills that we hope to develop in the children, which are needed. Indian industry is crying out for skills that are just not being produced. So I think what is needed is more project work, more peer learning, learning from each other, more group work, pair work, that kind of a pedagogic approach that develops those other skills is very desperately needed.
Okay, next question. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I'm Shivam Shandilya from Delhi University. Sir, there is a very hot debate among the academicians and intellectuals, which was later reported by Times of India even, with reference to NAC and the universities. It says that the NAC will be appointing public and private not-for-profit institutions as accrediting institutions. So don't you feel that if we indulge private into the realm of education, don't you feel it will lead to some sort of malpractices in the NAC or in awarding grade to the institutions in private realm as well as public realm? Because private institutions are completely working on the basis and the demands of the corporate markets. So don't you think that it will lead to some sort of malpractices in the educational
Well, I
realm?
can say
I'm
that
part of
I'm a
that.
product.
I'm coming to you. Yeah.
I'm a product of a university system from overseas which was private. And the system also, the accreditation system you're talking about, is very much the same. And the best universities, this I'm speaking about the United States, the best universities are private. And nothing has gone wrong. In fact, the whole world wants to send their children to those Ivy League universities in the United States. They're private. So why do we have in this mind, almost like a communist mind, that we must have everything controlled by the state, owned by the state? I fear the state, my friend. I really fear the state. And I would much rather have my freedom. And that's why I was giving you the story of Vidura, that it's ultimately, let's outcomes decide. Good, we should keep this healthy competition right now between public and private. I wish all our government schools could be like the central schools, the Navodaya schools, and so on. They should improve. But to say that everything, because it's private, in fact, I would say, let them make a profit, but let's see the results.
Okay,
Let's see
let
the
everything be
results.
result oriented is what you're suggesting.
Yes.
In
Up
other words,
the-
why be ideological? Why not do what works rather than taking out? Because we are now 75 years or so post-independence. How long, shall we wait that the governed system shall deliver? If it is not delivering, if it is not fit for purpose, why insist? Government should be funder of education for sure. I think that's important, because at the moment the system that exists, I'm talking about school education now, whereby people have to pay, and those who can pay are able to access better quality education than those who can't.
Right.
Of course, we can never have complete equality, and I'm not saying that that's what we want. But nevertheless, if the government were paying, for example, a direct benefit transfer or some way getting money to people so that they could have choice of what kind of school they send their children
Sure,
to, then
sure.
it would not be the case that the poor have to attend one type of schooling necessarily because they don't have the choice, and the rich have a choice.
Okay,
So
right,
let's
yes.
not be
A very
ideological.
quick comment. I have been part of the NAC assessment process. See, as Gurucharan ji said, the best of the world universities, Ivy League universities, are private. Don't forget, we have walked that path in India, and we are going to have tough competition for the public universities from private institutions. You can no more make them untouchable. If you want to have good universities in India, you will have to promote your private universities, and fait accompli, they are going to take over. Now, why do you always think they are corrupt? Why do you always think they will assess institution for money? No. We work for our own image and the image of the institution. A teacher, a assessor has his or her own credentials. The Quality Assessment Agency of the UK has independent assessors, and they are doing very good work. Let's revamp NAC. NAC has not been able to do very good work in all these years. We must revamp NAC and the processes of NAC. We need to have an agency which is independent of government control and of independent people who care for their own reputation. And that is how you will get good institution and good assessment. Don't just make one comment, NAC is corrupt or private institutions are corrupt. It's not like that.
Okay, next question please. Yeah, go ahead.
नकुल कुमार फ्रॉम दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी। जो नई पॉलिसी है उसमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए क्या है, और सबसे लास्ट में और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़, ये जो सेमेस्टर सिस्टम का इसमें प्रावधान है, हमने देखा है कि हमारे बच्चों में जो एक ऑब्सेशन होता मार्क्स के लिए पढ़ना, जब हम मार्क्स के लिए पढ़ते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट हमारा वो खत्म होने लगता है। तो क्या जब मुझे पता चलेगा जो एग्जाम मुझे 1 साल बाद देना था, मुझे 6 महीने बाद एग्जाम देना है, तो मैं एग्जाम के लिए ज्यादा पढ़ाई करता हूं। और जब हम लोग एग्जाम के लिए पढ़ते हैं तो वो जो एक होता कि इंटरेस्ट से पढ़ना, साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट डेवलप करना, वो कहीं ना कहीं उस चीज के साथ कंप्रोमाइज कर रहे हैं हम लोग सेमेस्टर सिस्टम।
Let Anurag Tripathi respond to that, and we'll
Yeah.
come to the others as well. जी,
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल होता है, बट ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाए और लर्निंग कहीं पीछे चली जाए। आप याद करें, पुराने ज़माने में आज से 2000-3000 साल पहले पेड़ के नीचे बैठ करके लर्निंग होती थी। उस समय भी आपके केमिस्ट्री होती थी, उस समय भी फिजिक्स होता था, उस समय भी मेडिकल साइंसेज होते थे, उस समय भी सारे इन्वेंशंस होते थे। आपकी दुनिया के सारे आविष्कार शायद उसी तरह से हुए, जितने भी हुए, एडिसन, आइंस्टीन, न्यूटन, व्हाटएवर, नेचर के बीच रह करके। तो लर्निंग के लिए किसी बहुत बड़े इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है। लर्निंग के लिए एक एटमॉस्फेयर की ज़रूरत होती है, एक पॉजिटिव एटमॉस्फेयर, जहाँ बच्चे को टाइम हो, लिबर्टी हो और स्पेस हो कि आप उसको सीख सकें, अपना इनोवेट कर सकें और आगे बढ़ सकें। हाँ, बट एक बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होना ही चाहिए। क्लासरूम में टीचर होने चाहिए, क्लासरूम में बिल्डिंग होनी चाहिए, क्लासरूम होना चाहिए, बेसिक फर्नीचर होने चाहिए, बच्चों को न्यूट्रिशस डाइट मिलने चाहिए, वाटर होना चाहिए, सैनिटेशन होना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक अच्छा एटमॉस्फेयर लर्निंग को बेटर करता है। टीचर को अपग्रेड करने की, ट्रेंड करने की, ओरिएंटेशन देने की और उसको मोटिवेट करने की एक ज़रूरत है, जो अभी इंपॉर्टेंट। सेमेस्टर सिस्टम की जो बात है, मैक्सिमम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ और कॉलेजेस में सेमेस्टर सिस्टम चल रहा है वेरी सक्सेसफुली, बट ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि सेमेस्टर सिस्टम में सिर्फ बोर्ड एग्जाम्स इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाए। सेमेस्टर सिस्टम होना चाहिए और इंटरनल असेसमेंट हमें बढ़ाने चाहिए, क्योंकि इंटरनल असेसमेंट अगर हम बढ़ाएंगे तो आपके टीचर इनोवेटिव क्रिएटिव तरीके से आपको टीच करेंगे, आप प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे, आप सेमिनार पेपर देंगे, आप टर्म पेपर देंगे, आप एक्टिविटीज करेंगे, आप रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड होंगे एंड बेटर लेकर के निकलेंगे। और उसका छोटा सा परसेंटेज असेसमेंट के रूप में फाइनल बोर्ड एग्जाम होना चाहिए, जिससे पूरे कंट्री को एक लेवल पे आप असेस कर सकें हमारा लेवल क्या है।
जी,
I want to make a point about something else, picking up on the question. And you know, you talked about infrastructure, the availability of infrastructure and the importance of that. In fact, when you look at the new education policy, the draft new education policy, if you look at the implicit diagnosis that it makes about what it is, what is the malaise in the education system, why is it that it's not producing good outcomes? Although they don't say it clearly enough, but tacitly, if you look at the policy prescriptions that the policy suggests, underlying them is the notion, the diagnosis that there is a shortage of infrastructure and of inputs. For example, it suggests that, oh, well, because each individual small school doesn't have the resources, let's make a school complex so that they can share resources such as a sports teacher, a music teacher, and so on. Right. So again, the notion that it's the lack of resources. Then it suggests that there are teacher shortages. You know, there's a acute teacher shortage is often said. Lots of people, lots of analysts and think tanks and government agencies are often heard saying that one of the main problems in education in India is that there's an acute teacher shortage. Then, you know, there's this thing that, oh, we don't have enough educated teachers. That is another problem. And what we need, therefore, the policy says, is a doubling of the resources, which I talked about earlier. So I think that this notion that what is lacking and the reason why the education system is not producing the desired outcomes is that there is not enough resources, not enough inputs, not enough infrastructure. I think that is a fundamentally mistaken idea. And I totally agree with the points that have been made up to now, namely that, you know, as you said, that, you know, it is not in the time of, you know, the ancient times, or even why to go to ancient times, even contemporary India. Look at, you know, APJ Abdul Kalam. He did probably go to a school where there were all the resources that were available, and he became a very celebrated, you know, nuclear scientist of our country. So I think that this is a monumentally mistaken notion that if you pour more resources, you're going to get the outcomes. And I think that what is needed, the elephant in the room, is not the lack of resources. The elephant in the room is the lack of accountability of schools and of teachers and of the system as a whole, not just schools and teachers, but the system as a whole.
Okay, all right, next question. Yeah, please.
My name is Akshita Tiwari from Delhi University. So I was very fortunate enough to work with a group of people who were there for an education drive in a slum area. So there was this child, Shamim, very curious to read science. So he brought his book to me and told me that please explain this to me. So it was already in Hindi, so I had to read everything and I had to translate into simpler words. I did everything, and then after that he said, I said that I'm done, so just read it once and ask any doubts if are there. So he said that I don't know how to read, and he was a child of 7th standard. So sir, is this the correct time to celebrate for the 94% participation you are claiming, or is this time to feel sorry about this failing implementation of our government?
Okay.
Can I answer this? See, I have already said there would be a demand for better education, more education all the time. But don't forget, Samim came to you and he had a textbook. Who did it? The government did it. The nation did it. It's 1947. 94% of children did not have access to a book. We have done that. Celebrate that. But then we should also be ashamed that in 75 years or 72 years, we have not been able to provide quality education to all that must have been provided. And as I said, there was a policy paralysis in 47. We put our emphasis on higher education. We put all the money in higher education. We did not cater to the poor, the less privileged, the backward area children. So that we must rectify. And since 1990, when the Jomtien was held and we signed the UEE, we have done tremendous job. Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan is such a success, and that is why Samim has a book.
Okay.
We'll do that in 10 or 15 years.
Next question, please.
I want to inform you again that in the new education policy, government का thrust इस पे है कि foundational numeracy and literacy होनी ही चाहिए, and to at least class 3rd का student उसको पढ़ना, लिखना और समझना आना चाहिए. ये एक बड़ा चैलेंज है जस्ट की कंट्री में कि आप लोगों को शायद ये पता हो कि लास्ट 10 ईयर में मैक्सिमम इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस क्लोज हो गए हैं, क्योंकि जो इंजीनियरिंग ग्रेजुएट्स निकल रहे थे उनके अंदर वैसे ही स्किलिंग और कैपेबिलिटी इंडस्ट्री को नहीं मिल रही थी जैसी ज़रूरत थी. ये हर लेवल पे है. तो क्लास 3rd तक बच्चे में न्यूमरेसी एंड लिटरेसी ये हो, ये न्यू एजुकेशन इसकी पॉलिसी किसकी बात कर रही है. एंड इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने प्रपोज भी किया है पॉलिसी में, जिसके लिए क्लब्स की बात हो रही है, डिफरेंट डेज को सेलिब्रेट करने की बात हो रही है, एंड डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज प्रपोज की गई हैं जिसके थ्रू बच्चे में रीडिंग, राइटिंग, अंडरस्टैंडिंग हैबिट डेवलप हो.
Okay. Next question, please. Yeah.
So I'm Ridul from University of Delhi. My question is, so I am the student of a reputed university and I come from a reputed private institution. So what I realized is, in school which was private, every student was addressed. Even the last student of the class was addressed. But in university, like Delhi University, which is one of the top universities of the country, teachers are not accessible. For even the top students of the class, teachers are not accessible. So how will we address that?
Okay.
That's the primary difference
Well,
between school education and higher education.
That's
Have more independence.
that's the key point, I think, that, and to the credit of this new education policy, I must say there's a number of paragraphs trying to see how can we upgrade the quality of teachers so that they will teach to every child. You're absolutely right. It's the heart of the education system is not the school building, or, I mean, he said under a banyan tree, you could sit down as long as you had an inspiring teacher. And really, ultimately, if you ask me, the reason I feel passionate about this is because I and a number of people are working to find a way to see if we can create a world-class teachers university which will produce inspiring teachers, only inspiring teachers. We should be able to find out in the beginning that this teacher is capable of inspiring. Otherwise, that person will not be allowed to come into that university. And so, really, the challenge for every country is exactly that. And I would say that this perhaps is, for me, the saddest failure of our system. That and the reality is that today, if 1 out of 4 is really teaching, the country is afloat because those few teachers are teaching so well. I mean, even if 10% of Indians get a good education today, we are able to create Bangalores. By Bangalore is a vision of an India that can be competitive with the world.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Today, my guess is that only 5 to 10% of Indians get the education they deserve. The rest of them don't. Imagine if you could double that, what you could have as our country in terms of the future of our jobs, etc. for the people.
Okay, it's time now to get closing comments from all the guests because we've come to the end of the program. Starting first with you, Geeta, with the best way forward, really, what is it that we need to do in the immediate near future?
I think we need to have a big ticket accountability reform and it's not going to come from, there's not recognition about, for example, teacher absence in the new education policy. I think in the thinking for how we want to improve education, there needs to be a recognition that accountability issues need fixing. Now, those are not easy to fix. Of course, expansionary policies are better, expenditure policies are easier, everybody benefits from them, and there's no opposition to them. As soon as you have accountability raising policies, people with vested interests are going to be hurt. So it is far more difficult to have policies to raise demand accountability from the whole system, from schools, from teachers.
Right.
And yet that is what we need. And public-private partnerships should be explored. There's a whole range of different types of public-private partnerships. There's no mention of public-private partnership in the new education policy.
Sure.
And the whole of the rest of the world is experimenting with direct benefit transfers. In fact, our Prime Minister has used DBT, direct benefit transfer, to great effect in a range of different areas, and the country has benefited a lot from it. So I think that school voucher schemes, conditional cash transfers, there's a whole range of menu of different kinds of public-private partnerships that can be explored, because it is not, it should be government funded, but there is no necessity that we necessarily government produced as well.
Okay, all right. Yes, Anurag?
Yeah, again, in my view, basically, एजुकेशन सिस्टम में हमारी पूरे सेटअप चाइल्ड सेंट्रिक होना चाहिए, एंड स्टूडेंट्स एंड चिल्ड्रन वन वे रिसीवर नहीं है. हमें इन बच्चों की जो ग्रूमिंग और डेवलपमेंट करना है, उसमें पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स एंड स्कूल्स ऑल थ्री को एक साथ रह करके प्लान करना है कि बच्चों में जो क्रिएटिविटी है, जो इनोवेशंस है, जो उनका रिसर्च ओरिएंटेशन है, वो कहीं ख़त्म नहीं होने पाए. क्योंकि बच्चे जब छोटे होते हैं, बचपन जब उनका रहता है, तो उनके अंदर सारी हैप्पीनेस और सारी क्रिएटिविटी रहती है, उनमें मैक्सिमम रहता है, सब कुछ करना चाहते हैं. लेकिन धीरे धीरे पेरेंट्स एंड स्कूल्स उनको एक बॉक्स में लिमिटेड करते जाते हैं कि तुम्हें ये नहीं करना, तुम्हें ये प्रश्न नहीं करना. अल्टीमेटली जब स्कूल और कॉलेज से बच्चे निकलते हैं तो क्लर्क से ज़्यादा की किसी भूमिका में शायद नहीं हो पाते हैं. ये ज़रूरत उनके बचपन को बचाने की है. इसमें पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स और स्कूल्स, इन तीनों के एक रोल लेकर के बढ़ना है. और मैं अगेन विश करूंगा कि जो न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है, अगर वो प्रॉपर वे में हम इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे तो सारी प्रॉब्लम्स हमारी सॉल्व होंगी.
जी, सीवी शर्मा.
I think the most important aspect would be policy for school education, and for that I would again say that parallel to the University Grants Commission, we must have a school education commission, a body of professionals which thinks, works, researches on policy of schooling, and that must be given first priority. Second, what the draft policy says, teacher education has been very poor. The policy goes on to say many things about the National Council for Teacher Education. We should rethink about its structure, its existence in fact, and work on a policy of better schooling. And at the end, I would say that this policy right at the beginning says it's an India-centric policy. I believe we need a Bharat-centric policy. अगर हम अपने रास्ते पर नहीं चले, अपनी विरासत को आगे नहीं बढ़ाया, अपने वांग्मय को नहीं देखा, तो शायद दुनिया के दूसरे देशों के पाठ्यक्रम को देख करके हम एक नया भारत नहीं बना पाएंगे. अगर 2030, 2040, 2050 का एक उदयमान भारत चाहिए, तो हमको एक भारत सेंट्रिक पॉलिसी चाहिए, इंडिया सेंट्रिक पॉलिसी नहीं.
Okay, all right. And Gurcharan Das,
Well,
the show
I'll
for his
just
concluding remarks.
Right, very quickly, just reiterate the points that yes, the heart of the education process is the teacher. The new education policy is talking a lot about raising the qualities of a teacher, but there's a fundamental mistake that the policy makes. It basically suggests that they want to close all the private teacher training institutes, saying that they're all bad, and they're going to have it only in the government sector. That is, teacher education will only be confined to the government sector by closing all the private. So the dream that I had of setting up a world-class teacher education school, for teacher education university, for setting up, for creating inspiring teachers, that would not be allowed under the new policy.
No, you can.
If you read the policy, they make it very clear that they want
that standalone colleges
Standalone will
that teach only teacher
they are
teacher
saying
education.
for
So that's exactly what
four-year
it means.
course.
But that's what I'm trying
that's
to
what he's
create.
trying to create.
They are saying
They
for
would not
4
allow me to create a world-class teacher
education institution.
education
I have been a member of the
university.
Siddiqui committee which has made recommendations for the revamping of the National Council for Teacher Education. We have recommended 4-year teacher education, but not closing of all private institutions. 92% of the teacher education colleges are in private sector, 6% aided, 2% public. We have said public institution must be promoted, but we have not recommended that all private institutions
If
be
you
closed.
read the latest summary that has come out,
Read Siddiqui committee report.
well, I'm sorry, but I've just read the report. And the report says exactly what I said.
I think
Okay.
Gurcharan Das is talking about the fact that the
single
policy
course.
says that
He's asking about the single
standalone
course. Yeah, standalone
colleges
course.
that
Yeah.
are only doing teacher education will not be allowed. I think
that's
yeah.
the policy.
Okay, all right, then on that note, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of the special debate on education policy. What's coming out of this discussion is that we need to increase competition as far as public schools or government-run schools and private institutions are concerned, bring them both to on par with each other. Also, spend wisely as far as education is concerned, and we need to focus on the formative years is what the panelists are suggesting. We've come a long way really as far as education in this country is concerned from 1947 to 2019, but there is a lot more that still needs to be done, and we need to move in that particular direction, and all stakeholders need to be involved if we have to see a better education system in our country. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this special discussion. Thank you to the wonderful audience as well for being here and posing some well thought out questions as well. See you again next time.